Okay, in this video we're going to make a snake eyes counter. So let's go ahead and read. So in dice games such as craps, snake eyes represents a roll of 2 dice that each are equal to 1, or the sum of 2 dice equals 2. Create a program that counts how many times it takes you to roll snake eyes. You will need a loop that adds 1 to a counter variable if the roll was not a snake eyes. Once you get snake eyes, you will need a loop that asks if you want to play again. Use a sentinel value to leave the game if you do not want to play again. Alright, so anytime you guys are playing games, you're going to have an outer loop and an inner loop. Okay, and the outer loop is going to be basically, I usually use a do while loop because I want the user to play at least once. And then after the game's over, I ask them if they want to play again. And if they say yes, then they can play again. And so the inner loop for this thing is going to run through, it's going to be a while loop that runs through. Think about when you roll a pair of dice, you want it to count up how many times it takes you to roll those dice before snake eyes comes up, and then it will display, you rolled 50 times or whatever. Do you want to play again? So what is this going to do? This is, what are you trying to do? The purpose is it just counts how many times it takes before you roll snake eyes. Okay. So we can start looking at some nouns and verbs. So, obviously snake eyes counter. That's the name of the title, so that's going to be the name of my class. I don't know, dice game, craps, snake eyes. So then we got this thing over here. We got roll. And I'll show you what roll is. A roll is going to be a random number between 1 through 6 in this case, because you can only have numbers 1 through 6 on a dice. So you're going to have 2 dice each. Okay, create a program. Alright. So here we go. We're getting back into our words that don't really matter. But I'm writing them down anyway because they are nouns and verbs. Create a program that counts how many times it takes you to roll snake eyes. You will need a loop. So you need a loop that adds adds 1 to a counter variable. So we're going to have a counter variable. If the roll was not a snake eyes, once you get snake eyes, you will need a loop that asks if you want to play again. Asks. Use a sentinel value to leave the game. If you do not want to play again. Alright, so this one is not as intuitive as some of the previous programs. If you notice when you'll see the code, this is getting more difficult. So you're going to want to set the counter and get the counts. Okay, I'm going to call it set counter and get counter, and that will take care of this right here. Because inside the set counter, you'll have your loop that runs everything. Roll is going to be, you know, I think there's the word dice in here somewhere too. Dice game. You're going to have a dice 1 and a dice 2. And that's going to be, you know, that's basically going to be your roll. When they roll it, you'll do your random number. Let me go through. Let me put this screen sketch up here. We'll use this. We're not going to use that. We're not going to use that. We won't use that. We're not going to use program. We are going to use loops though, but it's not going to be, we'll use a do, while, and we'll use a while loop. Okay. We will have a counter variable. We'll have sentinel value. We're not going to have game, but we'll have dice 1 and dice 2. A roll is going to basically be these, so we're not going to use the word roll. We're going to always create a program. Count is going to be important because we're going to set the counter. And we're going to get the counter, which is basically going to be count. Okay, so I mean count will be over here as well. We will add, but we're not going to use that word. We're not going to use that or that. So this one again is not as intuitive. These ones actually take a bit of practice. I don't think you're going to get these right off the bat. Playing games with programming is there's definitely some things like the outer loop and the inner loops that are used in all games, and I'll show that with a rock paper scissors game as well. But yeah, so anyway, we're starting to get into this, and this you know, tactic of what we've done to try to set up our methods is getting a little bit more difficult, and so I'm just going to jump to the code here, okay? So I'm going to create my file, new, main, snake eyes, counter. And I'll come down here. I'll call this snake eyes counter. Alright, I always need to import java.util.scanner. Alright, so we're not going to have a constructor, so, well, we will, I mean, we're not going to have a, we're not going to pass anything into it, so I'll just do this here. My snake eyes counter equals new snake eyes counter, and we got scanner, my scanner equals new scanner stum.in. Alright, so we're gonna have a char. So we're going to allow them to play at least once, all right? And this will be set to no, so they're going to have to change it to be able to play again, all right? So do, and down here this will be while play again is equal to y. Ugh. So when we do these, we always have to ask them, do you want to play again? And I'm actually kind of writing this backwards right now. Alright, I might not have demonstrated this line of code before either. So there isn't a next char when you're using the scanner class. So you have to use next, and that will enter it in as a it'll enter it in as a string, and then it will just pull the first character of that string at position 0. And so if you type yes, the whole word yes, it will just pull the y from it. If you type the whole word no, it will just pull the n from it, and it'll store it and play again. It will check to see if it's equal to y, and if it is, play it again. Okay, and the reason why I said I'm kind of making this backwards is because there's a whole bunch of stuff that has to happen before you ask, do they want to play again? But we can test this right now. We can go in and say, you know, do you want to play again? Yes or no? Yes. You want to play again? Yes or no? Yes. And so we know our loop works when I put no in and it ends. Okay. So we know that this do while loop works. Okay. So now we're going to have ourselves an inner loop. Okay. So we'll have my snake eyes counter dot set counter. And what we're doing is we're going to set the counter, which hasn't been created yet. And once it's set, so that's where our inner loop's going to be. You know, you got 50 rolls in, okay? Then it will do the number of rolls before snake eyes. This is where we'll say plus my snake eyes. You know what? I'm just gonna stick with this. I'm not gonna do camel casing, even though I should. My snake eyes counter dot get wait my snake my snake eyes counter dot get counter. There we go. So I've got an error here, an error here because I haven't created that yet. Okay. So, but that's main. Let's go into the class. And this one we're going to use a random variable, so we need to import java.util.random. That'll allow us to enter a random number. So what do we need? Public void set counter. And then we'll need a public int get counter. Now there's going to be an error here. I mean, we can just return the count because that's what we're going to return. So I can do that real quick. Int count. So what do we need? We need a count. We need a total. We need a dice 1 and a dice 2. Okay, so let's do this here. So total is going to be 0, and count will be 0. Okay? And we will say while total is not equal to 2. So that total is the total value on your dice, right? So if you roll a 5 and a 6, that's an 11, okay? That's not equal to 2, so that will go into this while loop. Okay? First time through, it's 0, right? And 0 because we haven't really rolled it yet. So you could do a do while in this one as well. I'm just sticking with this. So dice 1 equals, we're going to make it an int, and we're going to have to say math.random, and we will go to position 6, and we'll start at position 1. Okay? So that means it will be 1, it will create a random number between 1 through 6. And we'll do the same for dice 2. So we have to add those up. So dice 1 plus dice 1. So now we're just displaying the value of it, plus dice 2, dice 1, dice 2. Okay. And then we just add up our count variable. Okay. That should be it. Let's test this thing. When we run this. Okay, let's look at it. So we got our first roll. Our dice is 1 and 4. So this would be right here. This would be 1 and this would be 4. The total would be 5. So that's not equal to 2. So we run through it again. We print all this stuff up. Okay. Until we finally get one right here, 1 and 1. And we rolled it 90 times before we got that. So do you want to play again? Yes. 17 times to roll. Do you want to play again? Yes. 33 times, yes. And then we would just initially and finally say no, and then you quit. All right. So what you could do is you could then do another loop. Now I'm not going to do this, but this would be for like enrichment purposes if you're interested in doing this. Instead of having them use the central value of y or n to either keep the rolls going or to quit, what you could do is you could create another loop, or you could change pretty easily this loop, this do while loop, to play like 1,000 different times. And then what you would do is figure out, you would add up all the games, all the counters from each game. So you'd have like a total counter. And then you would divide it by the number of games you played to figure out the average number of times it takes to get snake eyes, and see if the random generator is close to statistical probability of getting a snake eyes. So something that you might want to try.